Wrong Turn 4 and Muppets Take Manhattan in the same sentence. That's got to be the first time ever. Gotta be.
Welcome to Recotopia, a happy home for recommended movies, shows, and music from two people you can definitely trust. Trustability varies by region, no guarantees implied. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Atkinson and Jeremy Scott.
What's in the case?
That information isn't
Is
necessary.
it heavy? Is it explosive? Is it chained to some unlucky bloke's wrist? We're gonna have to chop it off?
All right.
What is it?
But I am not under any obligation to let you know
If
what...
you are not, then the price has got to go up. I'll get you the case, but the price has got to go up. If it's gonna be amateur night, I want $100,000. I want it up front. I want it in a bank account. I want another $100,000 when you get the case.
Hello, everybody. It is Recotopia episode 60.
Wow.
60. I'm Chris Atkinson.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott. My phone is ringing. That's good radio.
Your phone is ringing, yes. Yes, it is.
Scam likely. He calls me every day.
Mm-hmm. Part of the likely family of the Pennsylvania likelies. Well, once again, acknowledge the chat that's here to watch us on a Tuesday, recording this podcast. Today's big recommend is going to be Ronin from 1998, and Robert De Niro getting some Recotopia love under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that sounds pretty dirty, but
so that's right.
yeah. But anyway, Jeremy, do you have any small recommends?
It's no big deal.
Itty bitty living space.
It's so small and light.
It's small, it's tiny, it's petite, it's wee.
I do. All right. So, Chris, did you ever watch the Showtime show Yellowjackets a year and a half ago?
I did. I may have even introduced this show to you.
Okay, I think that's right. Okay, so season 2 is here. It's upon us. And I don't know if you're watching yet.
I haven't started watching yet. No.
There are 2 episodes so far, and I am just as riveted. It is just as insane. And I will give a caveat here that if you watch the first season, it hints at something in the future that might happen. They're not going to wait till season 5, folks. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm riveted but disgusted all at the same time.
Oh, really?
I think that's intentional. But yeah, if you watch the first season, I think you're going to continue to dig it. If you haven't seen any of it, the girls' soccer team crashes in the Canadian wilderness, and it's many, many months before they're rescued, and the show jumps back and forth between their survival attempts in the wilderness and those who have survived where they are 20 years later. And there are secrets and mysteries and lustfulness and accidents and sleepwalking and wolves and totem worship, and it is insane. And if that doesn't sound up your alley, don't watch it. But if it sounds a little interesting, give it a look. See season 2. They're still in top form,
and I think it's even possible Jonathan mentioned this show before I watched it, so Jonathan may be responsible for all of us watching this show.
Son of a bitch.
I know, that son of a bitch, but it was like after an episode or 2 that had come out, I was like, okay, I'll give this a whirl, and I was hooked too. And such likable people like Melanie Linsky and Christina Ricci, and I guess Juliette Lewis. I think she's the polarizing Juliette Lewis. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this show. I was kind of surprised to see that season 2 had started. I haven't gotten into the mindset to start it back up yet, and I may let a few episodes go before I start watching it, because I think I like the binge aspect of it.
Binging is good.
Whenever there's a show that's giving you all these details, I don't know. I feel like the week to week thing, you start losing some of that information unless you're one of those hardcore people who go and read recaps and like read about theories and all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
then you're really up on the show. And that's not me. I don't like reading up on theories and
Yeah.
like getting my hopes up about things that aren't going to happen and things like that. So anyway,
I was
I've
that.
found,
I was that guy, and Lost broke me. Like,
yeah,
all
yeah.
throughout Lost, I was like, I would even call my mother because she loved Lost, and we would go, "Okay,
Mhm.
what do you think this means? There's a smoke monster, and this guy's definitely evil." And anyway, and all of that was just ultimately, I don't even want to count the hours I wasted speculating about that goddamn show for
Mhm.
them to go, "Hey, it's the most obvious thing that everyone suspected at the very outset. We have no
Yeah.
innovation here."
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, yeah, I will catch up on that. Speaking of catching up, I caught up on The Last of Us, and I'm sort of basically just doing a second recommend on this
Nice.
because Jeremy has already recommended the series on this very show. I'm just seconding it. It's really, really good. The I was able to because I was playing the game on a stream, and it was the first time I ever experienced the story on a stream. My attention was distracted quite a bit
Mm,
while I was trying to keep up with that story, and I knew the basics to it. Now getting to sort of review it through the series and new actors and things like that, uh, I was able to enjoy the story a lot more. But really, honestly, we all know how great Pedro Pascal is, and
mhm.
he's had a huge like past year. Bella Ramsey is so fucking good in this series.
She's so awesome.
Oh my god, I love her so much. She's like every little thing. She's one of those. I don't know if it's. I don't know how it's going to translate when she's older, but she's one of those that seems like she already gets it. Like in every scene, she's doing something interesting with her face
Mhm.
or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be just like mild curiosity or just whatever. She always has the right look. And so like I loved her to death in this. And I love also that they were able to get some of the voice actors some roles in
Yep.
this too, and hearing them talk about being on the show after being a voice of, you know, usually very major characters that they are. Like they're the dude who voices Joel plays like a sidekick
Yeah.
in a later episode, the preacher's sidekick guy. And it's like, and he's talking about, you know, he's talking about like, yeah, this show means a lot to me, you know, like it's really interesting being in this role as opposed to the other one. But anyway, yeah, I'm just seconding this. There's nothing else that I can really say about it other than I love the hell out of Bella Ramsey in
Yeah.
this, and I'm going to be looking for more. I need to watch that movie you recommended a few weeks ago that she's in. Uh,
Oh, yeah, the shit. Yep,
Mm,
yep,
yeah,
that one.
but that's what I got from this. The story itself, I was even though I had not kept track of every detail, I knew what was happening or what was going to happen, and they didn't change it up that much to the
Right.
point where it's like there were a couple of moments they diverted because they have the whole thing with Melanie Linsky in Kansas City, and
Yeah.
she's running a like a different kind of that was an interesting thing that they only got to explore for like an episode or two about the whole idea of having a corrupt government institution and then having like rebels that conquer that institution and then they themselves become corrupt and then
Yep.
there's another rebel faction ready to knock that group over,
Yeah.
and like it always does that whole power corrupting absolutely type of thing really well. I only got to explore it for a couple episodes, but that's what's so fascinating about that show is that it's giving you little pockets, little windows into what the world is like as they move along, as they travel west through the show. Anyway, really loved it. So,
Catherine Called Birdie is the name of that movie.
Catherine called Birdie. That's right.
And there was a point I watched The Last of Us show, weekly, but I would watch it the next day with my wife, not when it aired on Sunday night, but there was an episode, I don't know which one it was, but early in the first half where I tweeted out afterwards, Bella Ramsey is a treasure and we must protect her.
Yes.
And I agree wholeheartedly. She's one of the best up and coming talents that we have. And I think you would really enjoy Catherine Cole-Birding. So.
Yeah. Definitely going to be watching that soon.
All right. So my second recommend is not a movie or a TV show. I am going back to food, but in a bigger way, I'm recommending a recipe source.
Okay.
Most recently, my wife and I on Sunday made a potato, kale, cheese casserole that we then cracked eggs on and put in the oven. There's a picture right there. That's from the New York Times. The New York Times has a recipe section, a cooking section that is a separate subscription from their newspaper. That's kind of a dick move. I understand that. But it's the same kind of like with their games. You can play one or two of the games for free, but if you don't have a subscription, you can't do the crossword puzzle. Like a game-specific subscription, not just the New York Times subscription. Anyway, I have now made 4 recipes over the last 2 months from the New York Times cooking section, and they have all been dynamite. I will say it's probably a bit too much for some people. It's $65 a year, which is $1.25 a week or something like that. For me, this is going to be ultimately worth it. I've had 4 great meals that I've had leftovers and been able to eat twice. We made a white bean and ham casserole. We made a chicken and turnip greens bake, and 2 weeks ago we made a Greek ground chicken spinach stew. They've all been outstanding. I struggle. Like I tinker with all these recipes. I put stuff in there that they don't tell me to, but I want a good starting base. And I struggle to find a source that is consistently good. I'll make something from the Food Network's website and love it. And then I'll make another thing from the Food Network's website and hate it. I made one recipe from a really prominent site I'm not going to name that I think defies the laws of physics. It's not possible to make what they said you could make. All I made was a charred log. But I have been really, really happy with all 4 of these dishes, and they've been pushing us outside of our normal taste zones. And so I wanted to shout out my own cooking of this recipe on Sunday. We nailed it. And also suggest that a very good source of recipes is the New York Times cooking section. There you go.
I think it's interesting. You may feel like, I don't know, a little weird recommending food and recipes and things like that, but I think in general, from what I can tell in our comments and various sections, people really do love this type of stuff, and they do try this stuff out and everything, and it makes me want to try it out. I don't know if I got time to do it, but I'd love to try stuff like this.
This was 50 minutes. We threw some unsalted butter and a bunch of shallots in a frying pan, oven safe frying pan. Then we threw in a bunch of spinach and cooked it down, and it wilts and reduces. In another pot, we were boiling potatoes. Then we throw those in and mash it all up. Throw in some thyme, some cheddar cheese, mash it, stir it, pop on a few eggs, throw it in the oven.
Sounds excellent.
Yeah, it was delightful. And it's, other than the egg, it's a vegetarian dish, and you don't have to add the egg, so you can keep it, fully vegetarian. Throw some beans in there or something. Anyway.
Yeah. Went to the theater last week and watched Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
Yes. You're recommending it?
I'm recommending it, of course. Yes. Yeah, this is from the same people who brought you game night, and I don't have the names on the tip of my tongue here. I know that one dude, every time I look at their pictures, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that dude in movies before. Like John Francis Daly is one of them, and Jonathan Goldstein is the other guy. Did game night. So when I saw trailers for this, I was like, okay, so they're kind of making a kind of funny Dungeons and Dragons, haha, okay, all right, whatever. And then I started hearing like some decent buzz about it. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, you want to see this? I heard it was good. And I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and give this a shot. And this movie is inventive and funnier than most movies that are just advertising themselves as straight comedies. There are just moments of just great whimsy in this. This is Chris Pine at his best. This is Michelle Rodriguez at her best. Like, this is the best I've ever. This is the first time it feels like Michelle Rodriguez has really like been in a funny role. I mean, she's probably been in a funny role before, but this is the first time it really feels like she is in one.
Hmm.
And then there is a scene stealing turn from, I think it's Regé-Jean Page. You know him from Bridgerton.
Yeah.
Uh, his straight laced, very like we've sort of started getting a combination of these kind of like these Drax characters that come in. He's kind of a Drax, not like as like dim-witted as Drax is, but like still like doesn't take colloquialisms and
I
you
see.
know, like that takes things literally a lot and whatever. He's got this straight face all the way through this, and he's saying just the funniest things. And just to highlight one scene, and there's a random scene that's in this movie that made me laugh, and it's stuck with me for whatever reason. It's just a random scene. They're all on the beach. Regé-Jean Page is about to leave them, and he starts walking, and Chris Pine's like, look at that guy, just always walking in a straight line. He never diverts from that straight line ever. And he's walking towards this rock. He's like, is he going to go around the rock? And he says like, and he's walking towards the rock. Is he going to go around the rock? Nope. And he says he climbs over the rock as he's walking in the straight line. It's like, nope, he doesn't divert for anything. Whatever. It's like this, it's that kind of whimsy that's going on in this movie, and just constantly entertaining. And a lot of people, I mean, you've seen a lot of these people in here. Justice Smith is in there, Hugh Grant, of course, Sophia Lillis is in this movie. It's just a whole ton of fun, just a ton of fun.
Awesome.
I highly recommend this. I know you're not going out to theaters, Jeremy, but like, this would be worth it, I think.
I'm so glad to hear this. The trailer, like, I was wary all the way up until the trailer a couple weeks ago, and that trailer had me rolling, and I thought maybe they got the tone right, and it sounds like they did. And that's got to be good for D&D fans all around the world after the last attempt at making a movie based on Dungeons and Dragons.
Even the adventure things in it, like they could have maybe like just kind of push that to the side a bit, because hey, we're making a comedy, we don't really have to do anything with the quest, really. Even the quest itself is fun, and they're doing a lot of fun things with the quest, and a lot of inventive things there, and a lot of like, you know, just, oh, that's a really good idea that they just implemented there. And like, you're just sitting there going, oh, this is actually like really fun and creative, in addition to being a delight when people are talking and telling jokes. So yeah, if you guys loved Game Night, I think you might like this even more.
Oh, and Game Night's probably my favorite comedy of the last 10, 15 years. So, man, and it sounds like, much like Game Night, they took care with how they shot it, and they shot it not like a typical comedy would shoot, but more like an action film would shoot. So I'm very, very excited to see this. And maybe I will sneak out to the theater one of these days.
And by the way, Chad is coming up with a whole bunch of other scenes in this movie that are also excellent. I mean, I just came up with a small smidgen, but like some of the stuff that they're talking about, very random, like they don't give away anything, but when they're saying about the graveyard scene, yes, the graveyard scene is awesome. Anyway,
the graveyard scene, I think, is in the trailer I saw, and that's what sold me, was that little gag. I don't know how much longer it goes on than what the trailer showed me, but I can't wait.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
On to the big recommend.
Ronin.
I'm fine. It's just that you're so big.
It's so huge.
It's a good rule, but this is bigger than rules.
It's bigger on the inside.
Is it? I noticed.
This is 1998. What would you call this? Action thriller?
Yeah, it's like a thriller. Yeah, action thriller.
And I had not seen it start to finish in probably, I'm going to say, 6 or 7 years. I've seen it a handful of times throughout my life. This is John Frankenheimer on a script that David Mamet wrote. David Mamet is probably getting more love on this podcast than any other writer.
Although Mamet is not credited, right? He uses a different name or something on the credits, I think.
He may indeed.
At
IMDb
least in
just
this
says
movie,
David
he
Mamet.
does. There's a point where like I saw something in the trivia that said like
Okay.
he took the script and rewrote like 70 or 80% of it, and then they changed something else that he didn't like. So he's like, let's just use somebody else's name on this. But Mamet
Interesting.
clearly was part of Ronin.
Yeah,
Yes.
there are certain scenes where you feel like David Mamet's in the room almost. But it does not open in a Mamet type of way. It does not open with awesome dialogue dancing back and forth. It opens with almost entirely wordless sequence where we see De Niro very cautiously approaching this bar. From afar, he watches, and then he gets a little closer and watches. And he goes around back and checks the back alley and hides his gun. And it's very clear that the people inside the bar are eyeing each other a little bit, and nobody really knows what to do or who to trust. And I love the balls of the movie to start this way because you get all of the tension, and then there's no dialogue whatsoever other than just background, somebody ordering a beer or what have you. And so, you're already on edge before you even really dive into it. But eventually, De Niro goes in there and asks to have one drink before they close, and asks to use the bathroom, and goes back and unlocks the back door. And the bartender's like, no, 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 not that door. The bathroom's the other door. Of course, De Niro's unlocking the back door because he's the pro spy. And this movie might as well be called De Niro's character is the proest spy of all pro spies. And eventually it's revealed that they are all there, these people eyeballing each other because a mysterious man in a wheelchair had recommended them for a job. And the opening scroll before any of this tells us what Ronin are. They were samurai whose master had been killed, and the shame of that drove them out, and they were swords for hire, mercenaries. And that sort of sets the stage. That's what these guys supposedly are. We have Jean Reno. I'm going to mispronounce so many names. Playing Vincent. He's French, and we are in France. We have De Niro, who's playing a man named Sam, who's former CIA. Although I don't think it's ever explicitly stated for sure by him, because there's a lot of playful dialogue about everybody's background. Like, what did you used to do? Oh, only whatever I was asked to do or whatever. You ever kill anybody? No, but I made a guy angry once or something like that.
Yeah.
So they are driven to this warehouse where we find Sean Bean and the driver, whose name is Fuck. His name is not Fuck. The driver, the driver's only name I did not
Larry.
make note of. Larry, of course. That's why I didn't make note of it, because it's Larry. And Deirdre is their Irish leader, their boss, essentially. She basically refuses to tell them anything about who she works for, if she works for anybody. All she tells them is, we're going to steal a case, and the people we're going to steal it from will very much not want to have it stolen. And they try and find out what's in the case, and she doesn't really tell them. I'm not sure we ever find out what's in the case.
Nope, it's a MacGuffin.
Yeah, okay. So they get no information. They go to sleep. Apparently, they wake up in the next morning, and they start to have a briefing. And I love how throughout the briefing they keep testing each other. Like somebody says, "What can we infer from your charming Irish lilt?" And she says, whatever you want, and moves right on. And then somebody says to De Niro, are you American? Even as two other people are talking about the mission. And so knowing there's going to be 3 cars, bad guys, they think 8 to 12 men. They believe they'll be armed, probably heavily. So they put together a list of their needs. Larry tells him what kind of cars he needs. They'll be fast but sturdy. Sean Beans is I think he said weapons guy. He tells him what kind of weapons he needs. And of course, Jean Reno's Vincent is going to get all this. He's the get it guy because he knows if it's in France, I can get it, he says. And so they go to buy a bunch of guns in one of my favorite scenes in the movie. the sellers approach, and Sean Bean's rather go get him here, showing sort of his. Well, we're going to find out pretty soon that he's not who he says he is, and he gets out and says, "Let's go do this deal." And De Niro's very cautiously like, "Okay, I'm going to back him up." And De Niro seems like the only one. Sam seems like the only one who is wary of the situation until they look in the trunk, and Sean Bean finds out that only half the stuff they ordered is there. And the guy's like, the seller's like, "Well, we got the rest in the other car back here." And another car kind of pulls into this tunnel area. And it's like, you go look and make sure all is good. And then, we'll trade the money, and here are the keys to this car. And, and De Niro's not having it. He's like, they're all walking down there. And I love this scene because De Niro's just like, "I would not go in there. Dude, I don't know what you're doing. Why are you going in there? Don't go in there. Look at it. Just look at it. It's a box set." And of course, he's right. There's a sniper, and Sam shoots at the sniper, and a gunfight breaks out. And eventually the bad guys leaves. I think a couple of them die. And then our team, our protagonists, get in Larry's car and take off. And Sean Bean he's happy. He's like pumped. He's like, we kept the money and we got half the stuff. That's a win-win, baby. And then, of course, when the car stopped, he asks the car to stop so he can get out and puke like a little baby.
Yes.
And there is a little brief car chase there. And I want to point it out because this movie is all about the car chases.
Yes, it is.
Frankenheimer puts the camera at the front of the car, bumper level, in a way that absolutely pulls you into the action and makes you feel like you're moving along at the same speed. And the next scene, they're talking about the plan. They're going to do this ambush. And Sean Bean really shows his ass. And he walks over to the whiteboard and he says, "We got some shooters here on this side. We'll put some shooters here on this side of the road." And Sam just unloads and basically walks up and schools him and says, "You're going to shoot right at each other. You're not who you say you are. What's the color of the boathouse at Hereford? What's the color of the boathouse at Hereford?" And he makes him back up into the coffee that Sam knew he would spill. And he takes his gun, basically embarrasses the shit out of this guy. And the next morning he's fired. And I do think every time I watch this movie, I think he's going to come back into this movie some way.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought too.
And then probably die. But he doesn't. He's ashamed and he leaves. So they decide to go to the hotel where they think the case currently is. And Sam and Deirdre go. Deirdre, of course, is the boss, technically. But Sam is the clear professional of this bunch, he and Vincent. So they're sitting in the lobby. She's all awkward because she's not an undercover person, and Sam is cool as a cucumber. And they see the case and the security guys come off the elevator. And again, Sam uses the smallest, simplest idea to do tradecraft. He gets somebody to take his picture. And when he's showing him how to use the camera, he's like, "Just push this button here. Just push this button here. Just like this. Just do this." He takes about 6 pictures of the case and the security guys, making it look like he's showing how to use the camera, then gets a bunch more pictures of them when he's posing with his wife that this stranger's taking pictures of. Pauses, says, "Just take a picture of just my wife." Goes outside.
And not only that, has the sort of the fourth dimension on that, because instead of taking the pictures while the crew is behind them, he tells them, "We're going to take a picture out here," knowing that crew is going to be out there as the pictures are taken. So that's the cool part for me on that scene, is that he doesn't just take the pictures there while those people could be like, "Hey, camera, don't," he takes them where it doesn't look like he's taking pictures of them at all. By knowing that they'll be there eventually. So I love that.
And he goes outside and leans a sign against the luggage cart. I mean, this is the simplest spy trick I think I've ever seen in a movie. And then goes to a bellhop and says, "Take my luggage to my room immediately." And then walks back inside and poses with his wife. And we're going to get pictures here as the bellhop pulls the luggage thing, the sign hits the ground, it kind of sounds like a gun, and we see the security team race into action to protect the case and case man. I just love everything about this scene and just the simplest way he gets all this intel. And so then we cut to him looking at the pictures, and he's like, "Yeah, They're pretty professional. Um, so we find out the case has been moved to the villa. The case is either at the villa or at the hotel. And so while it's at the villa, they don't really want to attack there. That's kind of like a compound. So Sam and Deidre go have sex in the car. They're presumably there to watch the villa. And when a cop shows up, he kisses her. So it looks like they're just a couple out necking in their car, and the cop drives by. And she just says, "Okay, well, let's just do this." And so they have sex. It's lovely. I think it surprises me every time I watch this movie. So then we cut to the big heist, and it's pretty cool that we haven't seen the actual planning of this. We've seen some conversations here and there about who might be doing what, but seeing it all play out with everyone having their role is really cool. Sam uses, it's not a grenade launcher, but I'm going to call it a grenade launcher because I don't know a better word for it. Giant bullet shooter. And there are many people shot and killed, many of whom have nothing to do with any of this, and that is a recurring theme in this movie, and I don't think it's accidental. Almost every time there's any kind of skirmish, innocent people get injured or die in this movie. But they take out at least one of the cars of the convoy with Mr. Caseman. They've got Larry, the driver, down the road further so that he can pop out and help. And then we go into the big car chase, the first big car chase of the movie, where we've got Sam and Vincent in a Volvo of some sort. And then we have Larry, and they're trying to take out the case car guy and his, convoy helpers.
I think there's an Audi in this thing, and there's was it a Citroen or whatever? I don't know. It's one of these Euro cars that we don't see much of out here, but some of the cars that are in this movie, and I don't know if it's in this chase or not. I'm not a car person, but I know that I think at least the big car chase, there's an Audi that's in there that's like a souped up awesome ass car, so like some of these cars don't look like the sports cars that we're used to, but they're still badass, basically, is what it comes down to.
Yes. I love this car chase because it starts in this tiny little villa where they steal the case at the hotel, goes into the countryside, and then they end up in Nice, where it gets even more intense because there are a lot of narrow streets and tight quarter action. Now they have Gregor and Deirdre in a van, and they are tracking. Gregor is Skarsgård. I forgot to mention him completely. He's mysterious.
Yes.
And they are tracking the case man because he used his cell phone. They have some sort of ability to track his cell phone. And so there's this awesome part of the chase where they send Larry ahead, and they're like, "Go this way, now go this way." And then they're like, "Okay, now you're in front of him." And he turns around and starts going back, and they're basically going to pincher move this guy. And of course, we end up with another shootout where everybody is getting killed that's not involved. Some people involved get killed. And Gregor, nasty, dirty little Gregor, shows up and switches out the cases. If you're not paying close attention, you won't even see this. But because it's quick, but he switches out the cases. And then Sam grabs the case and hands it to Vincent. And Gregor's on the other side of a crashed, blown up car. There's like no way for them to join up. And Sam looks at his hands and sees silver spray paint and knows that the case he just touched is fake. Grabs it and throws it. Now that's what explodes the car. And saves Vincent's life because he's the smartest man in the room. I think this might be one of my favorite De Niro characters ever because he's just so cool. And I mean cool under pressure, not like I want to be like him. Although in some ways.
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, we are not even halfway through this movie. But I feel like it gives you a nice, big, deep breath here. This takes place at like the 55-minute mark. It's like a 2-hour movie. Larry, the driver's been shot has a nasty looking knee. And they have no options. They're holed up in this, I don't know, looks like a hotel room. Their only option is to find Gregor and get the case back. So Sam uses his CIA connections to get some cell phone triangulation done to figure out where Gregor is. And that's a pretty cool scene too. because they act like strangers, but then it's revealed that they knew each other back in the CIA or what have you. And meanwhile, Gregor tries to sell to his buyer, but his buyer has given him fake money and wants to shoot him. And because again, this happens more than once in this movie, because he guns the gas and the car moves, he gets a nanoseconds worth of advantage and kills the buyer and gets away. So they track Gregor to this small town, and because they're really good spies, Vincent and Sam for the most part, and I think most of the rest of the group is questionable. They find him at this like Coliseum place. But at the same time, these two Russian guys find him because the Russian guys want the case as well, and they may not be trying to buy it. They may be trying to kill and take it. And again, we have a shootout in public where innocent people are shot, and all hell breaks loose. And Jonathan Pryce shows up while all this is going down in the Coliseum. His name is Seamus, and he approaches Larry, our driver. And we have had at least one or two scenes previous where Seamus has contact Deirdre. So we know that Seamus is Deirdre's boss at this point. So when he approaches Larry, the driver, we know this is not probably a good thing. But we cut away. Sam gets shot, and everybody's basically scattered. They get back to the car and find Larry's been stabbed in the neck violently. And the car pulls away with Seamus and Deirdre and Gregor in it. They got Gregor because Seamus he's a Houdini in this movie. He just shows up. Nobody can grab Gregor except he's just like, suddenly I have him here in the car with me. So everything is screwed a little more. But Sam has a bullet in him, and we have to get that taken care of. Vincent feels basically a debt to him because he saved his life earlier. Vincent knows this guy. I believe his name is Jean-Pierre, who also seems to have been some sort of former spy type guy. And we go to Jean-Pierre's house for Sam to get his bullet taken out. Thankfully, we get to see this. Yay! I enjoy seeing surgery.
Yes.
He uses a mirror to tell them what to do, basically.
This is a fascinating scene.
It is a fascinating scene because he starts it by saying, hey, I've done this 1,000,000 times. This is no big deal. Wipe up all this blood with the gauze. You're going to take this. Don't pull until you're sure you have the bullet. And then once they get the bullet out, he's like, I'm going to pass out now. Thanks. Basically passes out. And then the next morning, he has this conversation with Jean-Pierre. Jean-Pierre paints these little miniature samurai figures and is making all these diorama things. And we do get this lovely telling of the story of the 47 Ronin who their master was killed by another master who double-crossed him. There's not really any way for a Ronin to protect against that because the masters generally trusted each other. And so they plotted, went into the murderous master's house and killed him. Sam is like, yeah. That's my kind of story. He's like, well, after that, they went out into the front yard and they all committed ritual suicide. And Sam's like, oh, well, I don't like that part so much.
Yeah.
Anyway, Seamus, Deirdre, and Gregor are all in Paris, where Gregor gets the shit kicked out of him by Seamus once they enter the apartment. They go to the post office because Gregor, genius that he is, has mailed the case to himself.
Yes.
The case is not there. And so they're like, well, we'll give you another day. We'll come back the next day. And it does arrive the next day. But so do Sam and Gregor, who ambush Deirdre in the car. But then she hits the gas when they're not suspected and speeds off. And we have the most badass car chase in the entire film, in my opinion. And this car chase is 7 minutes long. And it's just adrenaline pumping all the way through. If you only watched this movie for the car chases, I think you would still have fun. I think you would still have a good time. But it ends in a huge crash. Of course, Gregor, RoboCop, somehow escapes the wreckage first and stumbles away. And construction workers pull Seamus and Deirdre out before the car actually explodes. So here's another moment where Sam and Vincent do awesome spy brain shit, and they just figure out through conversation. They're at this little coffee house, and Vincent keeps asking, where would he go? Where would he go? Where would he go? And they talk through it and figure out, well, he would go to the Russians. And so they know a guy who knows how to get information. They say the translator says, if anything has to do with Russia and Paris, this guy knows it. And they're like, all right. So before he's even done dialing the phone to get this information, the translator's like, but I would just go to that ice show over there where the Russian skaters are, because that's probably where we find some Russians. And I love that part because it completely subverts the trope of, the movie's already used this trope of the guy told me to go here and because he knows what's up, but this time it turns it on its ear, and I love that.
Yeah.
So they go to the ice show, they check it out. Katarina Witt is there skating to the song that Bill Murray learns how to play in Groundhog Day.
Yes.
And I don't know why that stuck out to me, but it did. But they have their eye on her boyfriend, who from here on out I will simply call the Russian. And they see that he gets an urgent message to his ear and looks at a piece of paper, and he leaves the venue. And so they're like, okay, it's on. And so they follow him. And then we have Gregor backstage surprising the Russian. And the Russian says, our meet wasn't until after the show. And Gregor says, no, the meet is now. And so they give him the money. It's real money. And he gives him the case. And then he holds up a phone and says, I have a sniper in the stands who is going to shoot your skater girlfriend if you don't let me walk out of here. We've seen the sniper. We know that he's not bluffing. But the Russian thinks he's bluffing and pulls a gun on him. And Gregor says, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, Mika. And then, boom, he gets shot in the head. And so the sniper does what the sniper was paid to do and shoots the skater. And all hell breaks loose. And I will just tell you that from here to the rest of the movie, lots of innocent people get hurt, trampled, pushed, shot, punched, kicked, what have you. So Sam and Vincent give chase on the Russian. But before they arrive, Seamus shows up, shoots the Russians dead, takes the case. Now they're after him. Sam runs ahead. This is another instance in this movie where somebody goes ahead to take care of something before the main action gets there, because he knows Deidre's going to be waiting there for Seamus, and he goes to her and says, get out of here, get lost. She says, what about the case? And he says, it's not about the case. I came for Seamus. Don't you get it? I was never out. So this is where we reveal that he's still in the CIA or whatever service he works for, and he's here to get Seamus, who is a basically Irish domestic terrorist leader. And so she takes off, and then they track Seamus back to the theater basement. Sam has no choice but to bust into a room with his gun out. Of course, there's a convenient hostage there. Seamus turns the hostage, shoots our boy, goes up to kill him, but no, Vincent saves the day from up in the balcony and kills Seamus. And we get this lovely little coffee scene ending where two pros who have become friends know that it's very likely they'll never see each other again, but they still know they might, and they respect each other. And I just love that little conversation there at the end, that little denouement, if you will, after the action. And then we see Vincent walk off to a voiceover that comes out of nowhere. And I really, really enjoyed this. Chris, what did you think of Ronin this time through?
I really enjoyed it too. Now, they also at the very end, you find out basically that what De Niro's mission was, whatever it was, ends up resulting in the IRA and Great Britain coming to a peace accord of some sort. So I guess if it's not for the fact that they don't kill Seamus, especially with whatever device he was buying that we don't know, but would have been a game changer. That's what ends up being the result of this big mission. I do love all the stuff De Niro does to test people out in this. This one thing that he does with Skarsgård early on is he throws that coffee cup down to the ground, and Skarsgård grabs it out of midair, and De Niro knows he's more than he's saying he is or presenting himself as from there, because Skarsgård looks like he's never done this kind of thing before. He's not a bad guy. He's blah blah blah. He's kind of innocent, and then he notices that he's got those kind of reflexes. I thought, now it is fun that they talk about that they talk about that. They talk that problem out, and they're like, he's gonna talk to the Russians and all that. But I'm a little, I don't, maybe this is how things are figured out sometimes when you're in the CIA and you got nothing else. But they see two cases that look similar to the case that he used as the fake bomb.
Yeah.
And they go and talk to the family about it, and they find out that these are made for ice skates, and that, okay, because he has this case that is made for ice skates, he must have regular dealings with Russians and people who date ice skaters. And that's how they get to that Russian thing. Is talking about the Russians. So that was the one thing I was like, this is, I mean, there's a lot of Mamet stuff in here. Like, you didn't even need to know that Mamet wrote this to know that Mamet, there's also like all the double crosses and all the like, every time somebody thinks that they're about to win, the other person fucks everything up, and that type of thing goes on. And then, and especially that like very loose connection that they made at the very end, and like, okay, it's kind of like in Spanish Prisoner, where you have the two undercover FBI people at the very end who somehow know he's going to be on that boat, and they know Campbell Scott's going to be on that boat at the end, and like have everything set up perfectly for them and whatever. But yes, Ronin has formed a legacy over the years as having car chase scenes that rival French Connection, and I don't think it's I don't think it's an accident that they shot this movie mainly in Paris, and that there's even shots that remind me of that car chase scene in French Connection when they go under the bridge and all that other thing. But yeah, those low angle shots, and there's not only cameras on cars, but I think there's also rigs that are driving behind the car and driving at the same speed as they are. And you can really feel the speed on all of this. A lot of times, like especially like in old movies, you could see them speed up the footage to make it look like they're going faster, or they do some other kind of trick to make it looks like they're actually driving the speeds that we think they are, and that's why they're so thrilling and everything. But yeah, I do like a thinking man type of working the problem type of thing, and we saw this with De Niro in the score as well. He's a professional through and through, and I've always appreciated that type of thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would be lying if I told you that this movie started fading for me instantly after I watched it. I don't know why. Like, there's a lot of good scenes in it, but today when I was like prepping to talk about this thing, I was like, okay, what happened again? And I had to kind of refresh my memory on a lot of it. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, all right. And there are a lot more better scenes than I remembered when I watched the movie the first time. I wasn't prepared to watch this movie when I was like 21 years old or whatever.
Right.
So, but yes, this is very good. This is very well made, very, very well done. It's to think that I think Frankenheimer's coming off the island of Dr. Moreau, when he does this movie. So this must have been a breath of fresh air for him, to go to this movie after that. So,
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, there was some things that started to fade for me a little bit, and even when you started talking, I was like, "Oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened." And maybe it's just that, I don't know. Maybe my memory is fading, and I need to go to a doctor. I don't know, but we'll see. But I really did enjoy that.
Now, some movies just don't stay with you that way, and I totally get it. I did want to mention real quick that there's a lot of really cool shots, camera work. Like some of the opening shots in that silent scene, and there's a shot where there's a tour group, a big crowd of people, and the tour leader says, "All right, now come with me," and backs away, and the whole flock of people walk towards him except Jonathan Pryce, who's standing down there looking at this paper, and it gives this effect like he's resisting some kind of wind almost. It's just a really cool, there's a lot of little cool stuff like that visually.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are well, we've run long as usual, but what's your super secret double feature for the day, sir?
Be very, very quiet.
Secret? What secret?
Our dirty little secret.
I tell you something I've never told anyone.
Well, I have seen some excellent choices in the chat during this time. Somebody brought up Three Kings, which I thought was a really good double feature with this. And it may very well beat mine that I came up with, but seen a lot of different heist movies, and I'm seeing stuff like The Bourne Supremacy and things of that nature. Those were all really good choices. But the thing that really made me feel like this was the double feature was that damn case. That damn case that they're looking for all the way through this movie, and it has a secret something or other in it, and there's spies and intrigue and whatnots and going on in this thing. And so I ended up on Tenet as the double feature for this, because that's the thing all the way through that. The case in Tenet is essentially a MacGuffin, even though it's very important to the story. But we don't really know what that kind of represents. It's a piece of some sort of artifact for an algorithm that fucking they barely bullshit explain in it, and so like that's what they're going for in all this. And then Kenneth Branagh, who is Irish himself, it needs this artifact because of the plan that the future is being ruined by climate change. Something that anyway. There's something. But anyway, I felt like Tenet was a good one for this, mainly because that damn case. I kept thinking about like that scene where they're in the traffic, and then there's big car chase in Tenet too. When they're throwing the case and it's going backwards and it's going from one car to the other and all that. This fucking case, man. That kept just hitting my head. The exact kind of case it feels like too that they're doing in Ronin. So.
That's awesome. I mean, it had to be a group of guys getting together to heist something. I feel like, and that definitely fits that. And the case is on the nose as well. I like Three Kings. I hadn't thought about that. The only one I had thought of was the first Mission Impossible movie, but I felt like that was probably a little on the nose. But
I mean, the first Mission Impossible definitely would be a good choice as well, and especially with the Jean Reno connection.
But I like Tenet. That's a good choice.
All right. So next week's homework, I am continuing my thing by doing comedies from decades from the 1910s to all the way to the present. And we're going to the 1920s this time. We're doing a Buster Keaton silent feature called The General, which is really, really fucking good if you've never seen it before. Have you seen this, Jeremy?
I have not. Well, but I've seen one or two of his. I don't know them by name. But I'm going to say probably not.
Okay. So this one, Buster Keaton is part. Now, note that Buster Keaton is part of the Confederacy in this movie. And I'm not saying, I don't think that the movie is saying the Confederacy was right or that they are heroes in this movie.
Okay.
Buster Keaton is part of the Confederacy. But this movie is very inventive, very funny. I'm looking forward to seeing what your reaction to this is. I think it's like an hour and 7 minutes long. And you can find this pretty much everywhere. So, I would, I think you can find it on Amazon Prime. I think you can find, it's like, I looked on Real Good. It looks like it's everywhere nearly. So, looking forward to seeing how people react to that one, and that'll be a lot of fun. So.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. You're going to test me again with another silent movie I have to find a double feature for, but I will prevail.
At least this time it's not too short so that you need to put basically a triple feature into. So
all right, so
I think it's going to be an easier task.
Let's do one question before we sign off. What do you think?
Question.
I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
This was going around on Twitter. Question says a week or two ago, but it was probably 3 or 4 weeks at this point. If you had to introduce somebody to your taste in movies, what are 5 movie titles you would screen for them?
Let's see. So yeah, 5. It's one of those. That's a weird. I actually thought about this for a while. But So to introduce someone to my taste in movies, I obviously put Back to the Future in there. I put Airplane in there.
Nice.
The Godfather, City of God, and Jackie Brown. I put all those in there.
Nice.
There are a number of other movies that would make that cut, I think, but I think that was ultimately what I wanted to come down on was these are the movies. Like, if you want to know my taste, it runs the gamut essentially. Like I love broad comedies. I love insane, ridiculous comedies. I also like hard dramas, and I also like, I mean, it's a good mix of that type of thing. So
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I kind of tried to go to extremes on my tastes here and not necessarily choose like my 5 favorite movies, but just to give you an honest, like, slice of my taste. So I'm going to hear mine: The Matrix, Demolition Man, Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings, Hunt for Red October, and The Muppets Take Manhattan.
Yes, absolutely. And that once again, yeah, you have a very eclectic collection there as well. Wrong Turn 4 and Muppets Take Manhattan in the same sentence. That's got to be the first time ever. Gotta be.
And if I've actually showed those 5 movies to somebody, I feel like at least once or twice somebody would be like, "Why? Why?" And I get to explain why. I'm going to explain my tastes, and there you go.
Yeah. All right. That is going to do it for this week. Next week's homework is the general, the Buster Keaton general. Once again, chat, thank you so much for coming out here and watching us today. Looking forward to how you guys react to the movie next week as well. But that's going to do it for this week. We'll see you next time. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Be a part of the live show by being a member of the Sin Club at Patreon at patreon.com/cinemasins. Chat with us on the Cinemasins Discord at discord.gg/cinemasins or Cinemasins Twitter at Cinemasins, and email any comments or questions to Recotopia at cinemasins.com. That's RECOTOPIA at cinemasins.com.
Hey, so yesterday and today, 3 of my nearest neighbors have been cutting down trees, like really big, tall, beautiful trees. And I want to know why it's all happening at the same time. And I certainly don't know if there's like a diseased tree that needs to be chopped down. But not knowing all the facts, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I wanted to live here was the view, and the view includes a lot of trees. And now, like, 4 of them are gone. There better be a damn good reason.
Yeah, I hate that too. I'm obviously in a neighborhood where things have not been completely fully developed, and now they've decided they're going to develop everything. And there used to be a bunch of trees all over the place, and now they have all been cut down.
Fucking progress, man. It's the worst. I will say that one of my neighbors who did cut down a tree yesterday has planted all along his fence line between his land and mine. He planted them 4 or 5 years ago. These beautiful, like, red maple things that progressively get bigger and bigger, and pretty soon it's going to be a nice, buffer between his property and ours. We won't really be able to see each other, but we will have these really beautiful trees that in the summer and the fall pop this cute, beautiful red. So, I guess if you plant, in addition to cutting down, then, that's not the worst thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. How you been?
I am doing okay, I guess. I mean, me personally, I'm doing okay, but this shit going on in Nashville, man, with the 3 representatives that they want to kick out because they were protesting. It really just I'm handcuffed. I don't know what to do. You
can't do anything.
I'm gonna donate money and stuff, and that's fine. I just don't know what it does at this point.
I mean, there's basically, you can protest, which I'm seeing on the Nashville subreddit some attempts to get some kind of rally going.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the ACLU is probably going to sue them, and you know, at least there's a shot it'll get overturned. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm very, very seriously thinking about other places I could live. Because there's not all 50 states are doing this garbage, and I don't even have to go very far to find neighboring states that aren't doing this garbage.
Yeah,
and I don't really want to do it.
I don't either. It's getting to the point.
If this is the gerrymandering was bad enough, so that they stripped Nashville of its voice, and then they stripped Nashville City Council of half of its members, and now they're just going to expel Democrats whenever they want. This is not democracy.
No.
And I don't know that I want to support that by living here.
Same.
It's like, it's not just I'm scared of where they might go next, which I am. They've basically made it easier. They have 100% made it easier to buy a gun than to buy Sudafed. And it's ridiculous. This is going to be the deepest, most serious set of outtakes to ever grace Recotopia's airwaves.
Yep.
But I think at least the listeners are used to us being fairly real about stuff like this.
Yep.
And it's not about politics anymore. They're not governing. They're not representing their voters. They're just doing whatever A is spiteful and whatever B, the people who pay for them tell them to do. And I'm just
exactly. There's
tired of it.
There's no helping. There's just like, look at what I did to those libs, blah blah blah, and it's like, good for you, I guess. I mean, what happens when there are no liberals left? What do you have to run on anymore? You know, like that's all you have to run on.
That's a good question.
That's what all you have to run on anymore is I'm not a liberal, and that's it. So that's, I don't get it.
My Republican opponent is slightly more liberal than I am.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw a post on the Nashville subreddit a week or so back that said T-Pack is hosting a drag show and children are invited. And I clicked through and it was a poster for the Mrs. Doubtfire show.
Yep.
And that's a pretty good summation of where we're at. And the people, I'm specifically talking about the Republicans in the Nashville State House. I'm not trying to paint all of them with the same brush I am. But it's not about, it's all punitive now. It's all, every bill they're passing, I just hate it. I hate it. The governor just approved 3 times more money for school security officers for private schools than he did for public schools. Let alone that we're going to throw all this money at school security officers instead of doing something more rational.
Right. Exactly. On a lighter note.
Yes, let's talk about cartoons.
Yeah. There is a restaurant in Donaldson that you might want to try out at some point. It is not a fine dining establishment, but it does have extremely good food. It's called Tenfold.
Oh, I'm going to Google. Keep talking.
So I've been to this place a few times now.
Okay.
They serve pizzas and they have like sandwiches and, they also have some of the frou-frou stuff, the vegetarians, the salads and stuff like that. But the other day I ordered something I hadn't ordered before. Now you may remember at Broadway Brew House, they used to have this specialty item at this one location that was the Mojo pulled pork sandwich or whatever, and he used to rave about it.
Yeah.
Well, when I first got that sandwich, it was great, and then as I got it further along, or I got it, there's another location that serves it all the time. Those weren't as good as the first try, but they have a Mojo pulled pork sandwich at this Tenfold place. Now I have enjoyed everything that I have eaten there. Everything has been way beyond what I thought it would be. So it's great, but I fell in love with this pulled Mojo pork sandwich. It has your barbecue and your barbecue sauce, obviously, but they use some sort of crispy shallots or something that go along with it. Oh my God. I keep thinking about this sandwich. Oh, it's so good.
Oh man.
Oh my God. I knew it was good when I first started biting into it, and then like as I got deeper in, and the sauce and the shallots and the barbecue all started mixing together with the bread and everything, I was like, this is the best sandwich I've eaten in a long time. This is such a good sandwich. But yeah, everything there is good. Like I've had their pizzas, and I've had their, I've had some other sandwiches there. It's good shit.
Fried pickles, white bean hummus. Here's what I like already. If you're a restaurant, put pictures of your goddamn food on your website. If I go to your website and I just see words, it's,
right?
It's not as appetizing. Whereas like this place has a picture of like every single dish, and it's all good photography. It all makes me want to come eat it, as opposed to just saying, here we have a mojo pork sandwich. Like I can see a picture of the sandwich you're talking about, and it looks amazing. Anyway, put pictures on your website, people. It's not that hard.